You just let me know when you're ready.
You want to sync all the cameras.
Good. All right, welcome to the Drain Plug Podcast. This is our very first episode. We took a little road trip from Georgia. We are here in Indiana. Is that what state we're in?
Yeah, pretty sure.
All right, we got a good lineup of folks here today. We've got Jeremy from 24/7 Boats. We've got Nate Eckhold from TBNation Outdoors Midwest and Nate's Custom Boats. We've got Dustin Apple, White River Rambo Customs. We've got Mr. Ryan over here, Fire Ant Fishing.
What's up?
And also co-owner of TBNation Outdoors Southeast, because, you know, Southeast is way better than the Midwest.
Let's check the dollar value on that.
Oh, it speaks.
And it begins.
There you go.
Here we go.
Here we are.
It's going to get dirty.
Poke, I poke back.
Let's have fun, guys.
So we're going to be starting out this first one talking about one of the most highly debated topics in the John boat world. We're going to be talking about riveted John boats versus welded John boats. You have some people from all different genres here, got different ideas. We're going to go through and just kind of see what everybody's opinions are. So, Dustin, what do you think? When you're looking at boats, do you have a preference? Do you have anything that you look for, things that you don't like, one or the other?
Like, are we talking about what I would personally buy or what I like to see come through the shop? Because, you know,
I would like to hear about both.
so for me, I don't care as long as it's wide. There's no replacement for displacement, and stability starts with width. Well, it starts and ends with width. So the wider you know, buy the widest boat that you can afford, in my opinion. But stability for me is the number one thing. So, but I've built and worked on a lot of riveted boats that are fine. I mean, I know I worked on a 1971 Playcraft, and it was a pain in the butt to weld on, but at the end of the day, still a good boat.
Now, have you seen any issues with the boats come through your shop that are welded?
Absolutely. So a lot of the industry started welding boats, well, some of the high production models, 2006 to 2008. And those first couple of years, the welding was terrible. I had a tracker come through, and it had a false floor on it. And he knew it was making noise. He let it go for a couple of years, and the Ohio River is, quite unforgiving. And by the time we pulled that false floor over, I had 52 cracks that I had to go back and fix. And it was, well, every weld that wasn't properly terminated, created a low spot, and so that cracked across the ribs, and so we just had to go in and fix it. But the new stuff, from what I've seen, pretty much everybody makes a good boat now, and they're so much stronger, versus the old stuff. But
Now, you think that's because the welding process is getting better, the welders are getting better, or materials getting better? What's your opinion?
Control.
Quality control, yeah.
yeah, and I think there's trial and error of the engineering process too. Seeing what boats failed in what areas, and making ribs closer together, making ribs a little wider, or whatever. It has a lot to do with it.
Stress points.
Absolutely.
Now, Jeremy, you're on the other end of the spectrum. You work mostly on fiberglass boats.
Correct.
But you do play with aluminum every now and then.
Time to time.
Time to time. What's your opinion? What do you feel? Tell us how you really feel.
I feel like that you 10 guys are all crazy. And, we just need to get into the fiberglass world completely. And
Dude, I hate
absolutely
fiberglass.
not.
Oh, my God.
just because all of you hate it. But, and I love our 10 boats too. I obviously own one. A little bit of both. I'm more of a walleye guy, so I'm a big water guy, and my aluminum boat holds up real well. And everything has its place. Fiberglass will fail just as much as aluminum will. I see it in my shop. Goes both ways. Obviously, we've got that crest liner that we were redoing Just the same thing that Dustin was just talking about. The lower floor welds failing. We pulled the floor out of that boat, and I would say we had every other support split across the bottom side of it. But you see it in the fiberglass world too. Everything's got its stress points that are going to fail. Your older glass boats, you're going to have transom issues with when they were playing with wood. An aluminum boat will take more abuse, obviously. So, you can't hit a rock in a glass boat and it won't take it,
Yeah.
So it's all in what you're wanting to play with. Obviously, your aluminum boats don't take big water nearly as well. So if you're going to take out, your ride is not as quality. You can beat a fiberglass boat, in my opinion, a lot harder into a wave to where I can't use it on a river.
So, me not being a fiberglass guy, if I was new into the boating world and I was going for that bass boat, walleye style boat, something along those lines, so that overall fishing boat, where do you draw the line for a new customer coming in the door of which direction they should go, fiberglass versus aluminum?
Price point.
Price.
That's going to be your first step, as much as I hate to say it, especially if you're buying a new boat, because you can get into a high glass or a high dollar aluminum boat in the low 40s, mid 50s, to where if you're going to step into let's say an 18 to 20 foot deep V walleye boat in a fiberglass version, you're going to be upward to, you're starting in the mid 90s, just as an intro, and you're in the 140, 150 class by the time you really rig that thing out.
Yeah.
The same principle goes in the fiberglass bass boat world to aluminum. You've got a lot of high-end aluminum bass boats that are coming out into the market that are still performing just as well as the glass stuff is, or is competing fairly well, getting the speeds out of them that some of this glass stuff's getting, and you're doing it at half the cost. So, it really just plays out on where your price point starts more than anything, because, if you're working on a $45,000 or a $50,000 budget, or even if you're financing, let's say I've got $20,000 and I'm going to put it towards a boat, well, what are you shooting for? You can go buy an entry-level glass boat, but you may not get all the bells and whistles on it that you want for your money, because by the time you've rigged it out, you've added another 20 grand onto it.
Yeah.
And you may be able to backpedal it into a really nice aluminum boat and get some more of the goodies on it for the same money.
Yeah.
So
Now, from a DIY standpoint, new guy coming in, don't have the money for a big fancy aluminum, like a brand new Tracker or a brand new Ranger, a brand new Phoenix. I'm in that low budget range. Aluminum used boat versus fiberglass used boat. What do you think about that?
Well, from the DIY aspect of it,
What do you want to do with it?
yeah,
the question.
that's the big question. Is what are you going to DIY into a glass boat? That's the biggest thing. It's not the same mod world. If you're going to change a lid compartment or change a structural aspect of a glass boat, you're not just going to cut the floor out of it and weld some uprights in it like we're doing in aluminum boats. There's a whole grafting process. There's a structural support process that you're going to have. It's going to be way more time consuming.
Yeah.
We've talked about trying to do an aluminum hybrid framing in a glass boat, but you're not going to do that on a DIY level.
Yeah.
So
No, but what you see like on the marketplace side or like the Craigslist side is these older fiberglass boats that carpet's absolutely garbage in it. It's usually falling apart.
Soft
you got
floors.
soggy floors that are, glassed over plywood. Like I know enough about fiberglass to get myself in trouble, but from somebody who does it, like, would you recommend somebody new that's never done fiberglass before get into that kind of boat? Like, is there the resources out there to learn how to do it?
there is somewhat, but your mid 90s, your early to mid 90s, all the way up into your 2001, 2002 glass boats, until things started going away from wood and doing more composites, those boats just need to go away in life. They're really money pits. And, when you get a good deal, you've got your Champion 202 guys out there. They're the sought-after boats that, they made for years that were the battleships. The downfall is those boats are falling apart. They've been worked for their life. They've been term and beat to death. And you go pick one of those boats up. A lot of guys think, oh, I need a Champion 202 because that was the best hull ever made. Well, you may go give $20,000 for something that needs $20,000 worth of work to it, and
You're
not
almost
just gonna,
back to the point of buying a bare bones brand new boat.
correct. You're back at that same problem, and when you think you've got a soggy floor in an area that's 2x2, most likely the whole floor is shot. What's underneath it is absorbed from the bottom up. So what you're not seeing is the problem that goes with it. And before you know it, you've got a wreck.
So does that like basically gets to a point when you get that soggy floor, like it's not even really worth messing with anymore?
Most of the time.
If you see a marketplace ad and there's stuff physically growing from the floor, just keep scrolling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, I wouldn't shy away from that on an aluminum boat because my first 2 John boats I ever bought had oak trees growing in them from, acorns sitting in them for so long. That's a totally different ball game though.
Well, and I'll tell you the other one. I make jokes with guys all the time because, fiberglass, you see the nasty burnt glass, and we'll look around and you'll see one that's got the green moss growing all over it, and that's the boat to buy a lot of times. If the floor's solid in it, when you finally get all that off there, all that crap that's stuck on the outside of the boat has actually saved the gel coat over the
Protected it from the
years.
UV.
Really?
And you can, and it'll come back 3 times better. It's usually the ugliest boat that gets brought into the shop that turns out the nicest with the least amount of work, to where if like Texas, Oklahoma boats, to where they're just sitting out, and Florida boats burning in the sun, and they keep them clean, and but they never wax them and never maintain them. You're not getting those back. But the guys that just park it under an oak tree, and 3 years from now you go, ugh. As long as the floor's solid and the transom's not soaked,
Really?
Yeah.
you can make it look new,
That
and
is-
it'll usually come back 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. So Nate, you cut your teeth in the aluminum boat world. What you have an opinion or a preference, riveted versus welded?
Just
Move that
depends on
mic
what-
over toward. We didn't bring enough mics up here.
It just depends on what you want to do with it. It depends on the customer. Are you fishing 5-acre ponds? Or are you fishing 3,000-acre lakes?
Well, is your boat welded?
My
It's
boat
fully
is welded,
right?
Yes. But in a small horsepower world, a 70,000 1648 riveted John boat's 5 mile an hour quicker than a 100 gauge welded boat.
Yeah.
My 3/16 bottom will still be together at the end of the race, though.
But you got to keep in mind, most of the water we fish are 25 horsepower restricted lakes that are under 2,000 acres.
And like
You're
3
not
foot
taking
deep.
a beating.
Yeah.
And in that world, 6 or 7 mile an hour, some of these guys got 8 G's in a 25 horsepower motor to make it go 40 mile an hour when everybody else is doing 22. Where speed matters.
Yeah.
Personally, if I'm going to put 25 grand in a John boat, I'm going to put it in a welded boat.
Yeah.
The customer brings me a riveted boat, wants to put 25 grand in it, we're going to put 25 grand in it.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever seen any issues with? Because I know you get a lot of customers that come in that are like on a budget, especially when you first started. You ever seen any like major issues with guys that came in with riveted boats other than just loose rivets?
Not really. I mean, we've come in as some that had some cracks from the rivets, and we've had to replace 50 rivets in a boat before. It's time and materials.
Yeah.
Seems like riveted crack less, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a stress point and a rivet might waller around,
Yep.
and I mean, hammer and dolly and smash her back out, and you're probably good. But I see less cracking on ribs on riveted stuff.
Yep. I'm going to tell you, every manufacturer we've opened up, there's cracked welds in every one of them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what's
Everyone.
what's the hate on riveted boats? I don't get it.
They leak,
They leak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you know.
what Chris says,
Chris is, my opinion's real short and sweet. It's a freaking boat, not a submarine. Buy a bilge pump. That's why the good Lord made them. And if you ain't got a bilge pump, a cheese ball bucket works great. I mean, literally, so one of the first times me and him took my 16-foot boat out was at that John Yacht trip up in South Carolina.
Yep.
I've got 2 lines in the front of my boat with just solid rivets that you can touch and move about 1/4 of an inch. Like, they're not even holding anything.
I
at
opened
this
the
point.
hatch and I saw water coming in like a water fountain.
Yeah, I was standing in ankle-deep
Like a
water
third date.
I was like,
7 hours that day. My boat never sank.
Chris, you got a
It
bilge
was
pump in here, right?
totally fine.
Nah. It's only 3
We
foot
bailed
deep.
with beer cans
be all right.
before.
Yeah.
I am amazed when people bring me a boat to work on and it doesn't have a bilge pump in it. Oh yeah, we hit something in the river. Got a hole in it. Could you weld that up? Yeah, sure. Oh, hey, where's your bilge pump at? I don't have one. What?
Dude, they're so cheap. They're so cheap.
Okay.
Alibaba Amazon special for $17.99. It'll work a couple of times.
So I keep a handful of them in stock, and they're about 2/3 the size of a 2-liter bottle. Mm-hmm. But they're 3,500 gallons per hour, and they use an inch and a half, I think.
Yeah.
They look silly. But boy, if you ever turn one on, it looks like a fire hose shooting out of that boat.
Yeah.
That's what I want. If I poke a hole, I mean, I want power.
Yeah.
And I've put 2 of them in a boat before.
So when we build boats at our shop, we always put 2. We put a manual and an auto.
Yeah.
And we hook them both together. So if
Right.
if you want to manually turn them on, they both turn on at the same time. If you just want to leave it on auto, it's always hooked up to the battery, so it's there if you need it.
Yep.
I think we do the auto one more for rain because most of our boats get stored outside and inevitably get filled up full of water and turned into a giant pool.
Yeah.
So, but then you got to worry about killing your battery too because it's hooked straight to your battery.
I want to touch on one thing. We're talking about aluminum boats mainly, but we're talking about keeping your boat out in the rain. The first thing I do in a rebuild is start pulling waterlogged foam out of it. Mm-hmm. People don't understand an aluminum boat. You have to pull the damn drain plug out and keep it pointed downhill. That foam, even though it's closed cell, breaks down over a couple years. I'll say 2 to 3 years, and it starts getting waterlogged. I had the last one I did was, 8, 9 years old, and pulled the floor out of it, and it was 3-inch thick foam. In the very back section, I cut a 12 by 12 section out and went to the front up in the keel, and I turned a 12 by 12 section out. The front square foot only weighed like 2 ounces, something like that, and the back square foot weighed like 5 pounds.
Golly.
I literally pulled 300 plus pounds of foam out of this
Foam out of the
boat.
boat. Yeah, we've done that plenty of times.
And the guy got it back, and he's like, man, he goes, this thing, it goes everywhere. It's so smooth, and it rides. He goes, what'd you do? I was like, I pulled 400 pounds of crap out of it.
Yep, we've
You
all
know,
done
so-
that. I know Nate's done it. I've seen a ton of videos of you swimming in foam dust everywhere.
And I know we could do a complete podcast on
Yes.
foam in a boat.
Now, we'll tell you a funny story. We had a boat come through the shop not too long ago, and I had this genius idea to hand Ryan an angle grinder with like a 5-inch knotted wire brush on it to try to get the foam out of the inside of these like hatches or
to
in the
be
back
fair,
pods.
We cut the hole in the back by the transom and had to dig all that out under the bench
Yeah.
to extend it back to the transom. So that was the only way in and out, and that's like the only tool that would do the job. We just had to make it all dust.
Yep. So instead of us being geniuses and just cutting the bench out, taking the foam, and then welding the bench back in, we were like, nah, watch this, bro. Man, I left him with the angle grinder. I went up to the front
That's
of the shop.
exactly how that conversation happened.
That's exactly how it went. Exactly.
Watch this, man.
I come
This'll
back 20
work.
minutes later, dude, he looked like a snowman. He was covered from head to toe
I
in
was
white
itching
foam.
everywhere.
It was everywhere. That was the dumbest thing we've ever done this week.
I had foam.
This week. Oh, man.
Ryan, so you haven't worked on as many welded boats probably as some of these other guys. We deal with a lot of riveted boats, but what's your thoughts?
I have a riveted boat and I like it. I don't care. I don't see the big deal in them. And now, obviously, I don't want one that's got 100. If all the rivets are loose in it, obviously that's a warning sign. But I don't see the difference. I don't care.
Does age play a factor?
No. We've done some 1950s boats that were pristine.
Yeah.
My boat's a 1979, and when I got it, I didn't have a single leaky rivet in it. Now I went a little crazy and did a couple full sends, and now I got a whole bunch of leaky rivets.
When I was like 18, we had a 1232, and we beefed up the transom where we literally took some steel iron and bolted it to the boat, bolted it to the seat. We put a 25 on it.
Oh my
Me and
God.
Ryan used to get in it and run the river. The thing would do like 35.
God.
Within a year, all the rivets were gone out of it. It was literally, when you went down the river, it was just like this. It made
Wow.
the scrap pile.
Yeah.
But when
You
you were
lived
18,
to tell
you're
about
like,
it.
what
You
do
probably
do?
weren't wearing a life jacket either, were
No,
you?
no
No
life
helmet,
No,
no nothing.
no bilge pump.
Yeah,
No
bilge
bilge
pump.
pump. Did you at least
There
have a
was
cheese
there,
ball
there happened to
bucket?
be one incident where we had no life jacket, no anchor, no oar, no rope, and that become a pretty pricey day on the river.
Yeah.
There was trespassing involved too.
Oh gosh.
Old Johnny Green Pants.
I think we were about 17 and 18 years old,
Golly. What was that, back in 1943?
something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It involved some really big smallmouth, though. I can say that.
I haven't yet to do that. I have never caught a smallmouth or
literally-
even tried.
You literally can take a little boat up a creek. There's no signs. Park the boat and you walk over the levee. Well, the levee's hot water going to a plant, and there's smallmouth in there. They're like 4 and 5 pounds. So
Now,
you
is that a
literally-
big smallmouth?
Those are big.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a giant.
So you can literally, they make like every hour they make a loop. And when we were young, we were like, who cares? You know, we park, walk up over the hill. That day, hands got zip tied together. And Mr. Green Pants got called.
Old green jeans got you.
Since I know there will be comments on that, check the description below for the Google pin. Nate's going to put that in later.
We all do
GPS
stupid stuff when
coordination.
we're young.
So one of the YouTube comments I see on everybody's videos, not just ours, but everybody's videos, is what kind of goop, slop crap can I slather all over the bottom of my boat to seal my leaky rivets?
Just bucket,
That's what I say.
That's what we talk.
dolly and a hammer.
I have yet to see a product on the market, aside from concrete and maybe some 5200, that will seal a leaky rivet. Never seen it. I've tried everything. Goop, was it the Goop It?
Yeah.
Super
the
slick.
Super
I put
slick.
Gator Glide
What's
on my
the
boat.
other
That
one?
didn't help at all.
What's the Golvit? Is that the one that
Golvit.
everyone?
They'll all work short term. The problem is if you never squeeze that rivet back together, it's loose. So as
Yeah.
the boat vibrates, you're just pretty soon you just break the seal that you put on it if you never fix it correct.
Well, it's one of the things about a riveted boat that's nice is they're light gauge, but it allows some flexibility without having to worry about cracked welds. So you can put all of the junk on the bottom of the boat that you want to try to seal that rivet, but that boat's going to flex no matter what. You can't stop the boat from flexing, and that's why they never last.
The only problem with that is, people keep slapping that stuff on there. And, I mean, I charge $100 an hour to take it off.
Yep.
So whenever you're ready to fix it right, call me.
Yeah.
I'll get that grinder out.
Welding over stuff that's been siliconed or 3M'd or gloved or any of that crap is a pain in the butt.
If you 5200 anything, you better make sure it's going to be there for life because that stuff is nasty.
Yeah.
Stickier than coronavirus.
Yep. So I have a question.
Sure.
I heard a guy say my boat or his and this boat and on my boat. And how many boats do y'all own?
One.
Really? Okay. Next.
Oh, yeah, the count is so high, I'm not sure.
Whole parking lot
Yeah,
full?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
A few.
So we're talking legally, right?
Oh, yeah, I was guess we needed to have that conversation.
Possession
guess-
is
I guess
9/10
I
the
have-
law, so
2 to 3 in my name now.
I've got a few.
I had the Arizona boat, the The
You got
sun
your-
dolphin now into
yeah, the
mine.
sun dolphin.
My fisher.
What about your little bass buggy plastic tub thing? Looks like
Yes.
a Rubbermaid tote.
We're talking legally.
Okay.
You can't flip your truck topper over by law without a watercraft sticker on it.
They sell those on Etsy now. In case anybody's wondering, shout out to Etsy if you guys want to sponsor us. Let us know.
I just wonder, just in case my wife ever hears this podcast.
How many do you
So-
have?
I've only got 6 right now.
That's
so-
not. I
I
don't, I
sold-
don't
Still
consider
winning,
that a
I'm
lot.
pretty sure. So
I
I,
sold-
think you're safe.
I sold 2 last month.
Yeah.
And one of them was one of those guy pulled in here and needed some money, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll buy it. Welded G3. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn it down, right?
Right.
So, I like aluminum boats,
I do
and if I'm not going to use it today, the great thing about aluminum boat is
It'll be your,
if I want to set it over there for 20 years, it'll still be good when I decide to play
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember. I think I got 3 or 4. I had 2 that were donated to the channel for
Nice.
Science.
use for
Think-
for
think
science.
I've worked on a
we follow
couple
the
of
science
those.
here.
One of them involved a snowy trip.
Yeah,
in
a snowy trip to
January.
Illinois where me and
Snow
Anthony
escapade.
almost died. I was actually telling our new camera guy about that. Our first trip to the snow.
First
We're
trip to
not, we're
Illinois.
not built for. Yeah, when we went to Illinois, man, we are not built to
They
drive.
show
on that
up, it's
crap.
like 45. Next morning, you wake up, it's like 8 and 6 inches of snow on the ground. And these 2 are driving like 10 mile an hour. They're like, gonna die. I'm doing like 45. I'm like, come on, you guys, fucking catch up. Let's go.
Yep.
We're all going to die together.
Well, at least when we were behind you on the way to the shop, like I felt a little bit okay because y'all were all driving like retards, like 400 miles an hour everywhere. Just like it was not like it was a bright sunny May
Dude,
day.
you had Mustangs passing you in the snow.
I did, dude. I was
You were in a
freaking
four-wheel
out.
drive Tundra, and Mustangs and Grandmas were passing you.
Yeah, but there was so much. So like in
Snow
Georgia,
makes the collisions
we only
softer.
need like a 16th to an eighth of an inch to shut the entire state down for a week and a half.
Our school don't close till there's like 8 or 9 inches.
They close 3 days before they think there might be snow in Georgia.
My kids walk to the bus stop in 6 inches of snow.
Well, they'll have great stories when they're older.
Uphill both
Uphill
ways.
both ways.
Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
The worst part was coming back though. So Anthony's driving. I'm in the passenger seat. We're going down whatever y'all's interstate is up
74.
there. Yeah. So we're going down the interstate, and you had convinced me to buy this boat while we were up there. Is that 16-foot? Was it a bass tracker?
Yeah, I remember
So we're
that.
towing it back. I'm sitting here trying not to pay attention. I'm over on my phone in the passenger seat, and I look up. Now the corner of my eye, I'm pretty sure I saw out the front windshield the center of the interstate, like the median. I was like, oh, that's not good. And I look to my right out the passenger window, and I can see the boat coming around sideways. I was like, yep, this is how we're going to die. This is how it happens right here. I look at Anthony, and he's, ah, ah. So then I start panicking. I got my feet up on the dash, and I'm like, oh, my God. The whole time this is happening, there's a state trooper in the middle of the interstate watching us laughing because we're only going like 10 miles an hour.
They went over the bridge on an icy morning.
Yeah.
We were going sideways. The boat was trying to straighten itself out and go backwards, and we finally wound up on the side of the road.
And
I
it
had a
wasn't
panic
just the
attack.
boat. It was the boat with like 10 sheets of aluminum.
And then
a
I
bunch
had
of angle,
the-
and then the 10-foot
the
boat that we put a
10-foot
hub
boat,
deck
yeah.
on flipped upside down on top
On
of that
top of
boat,
it.
all strapped down
All the Georgia
for a
guys'
12-hour
orders.
ride to Georgia.
I had never been so happy to see Georgia in my life.
Whatever happened with that boat?
It's at the shop.
That one is?
Yeah, it's over behind the shed. So, like, I waited. We got so busy, I just haven't had time to mess with it. But I wanted to wait for a while and see what everybody on YouTube wanted to see. Because I was kind of conflicted about cutting the side pods off of it, or whether I should try to, like, extend them up and angle them some more so the water would go up underneath them. So I waited, like, a couple months to see what everybody wanted to see on YouTube. And they all decided that they want me to extend them more forward and angle them, try to get water underneath them. And I was like, well, crap. And then we got really busy, and I just haven't had time to mess with it. It's still at the shop.
Whose idea were the side pods?
I think it was me and Nate both.
Okay, unfriend. Like, that was stupid.
Actually,
whole
it was
idea was
Anthony.
stupid, though.
Yeah.
It was. I got a 10-foot boat Literally, it fits on the welding bench. And he's like, I want to put a 350-pound motor on the back of it, and the boat's rated for like 200 pounds. It was like, can we put a big enough hunt deck on it to float it? I'm like, it's not helping the width any. I'm like, the damn boat's like this wide.
Yeah.
It's like 32 inches in the
Chris
back.
is a big guy, you know. It's got like 12-inch sides on it.
Yeah.
So it was, let's try this. So they were like 4 foot long in the beginning. It kind of looked like a rocket ship when we first did it.
Yeah,
They
it was
started
cool
chopping
looking.
on them. It added a lot of width to the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know if it's going to work or not.
And that was actually the second boat because it started with Anthony's.
Yeah, Anthony did
Anthony
that
was
one.
the original one that had the idea.
Yeah.
And
He
he's
had like a CAD file drawn up for it. He did a whole video
One of his
series
subscribers
on it.
did SolidWorks.
Yes.
I can't remember the gentleman's name. Ratha something. And he drew up this beautiful file and sent it to me. And we made them. And Anthony bolted them and welded them onto the boat with some help from Frankie. But he gained like 16 inches of width in the back of that 1232 little raggedy boat.
Yeah, it ended up being a little over, I think it was right at 48 inches.
But now he can carry that 100-pound battery and that e-propulsion in there.
But it made that boat super, super stable, though.
It did.
And even with what he's using it for, though, with a little electric outboard, it's perfect. Trying to go 100 miles an hour probably
not.
wouldn't work like I was trying to do.
It kills the performance, but it does add to the stability. But I can tell you, I've had hundreds of people
Oh yeah,
go, how much to make those for me?
Yep.
literally
How much
hundreds.
to make those for me? And I'm like, just buy a bigger boat.
It calls.
How much to make them for me? $1,000. Oh, yeah, I ought to buy a different boat. I'm like,
So
just buy a different boat.
I've cut boats right down the middle and widened them. I've done it 4 times, and every time I do it, I say I'm never doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it for my personal stuff. All right, so don't call me. But oh man, you can literally build a boat faster than what you can
Cut
you
one
know,
and a half
yeah,
and
one
widen it
and widen
for.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Still-
biggest headache's
still
working on
fun.
old aluminum, trying to get
Yeah.
new, good aluminum.
Yeah, getting the
and
paint primer
get the
off
painting
of it.
off and whatever else they stuck in there, trying to seal rivets, and that's a mess. Yeah, I'm gonna try the float pod, the side float pods. I'm gonna extend them up some and angle them.
You just cut that damn boat in half and move on with life. And
I don't know.
new project. Just blow it up. It'd be good for views.
I'm already this far into it. I might as well
blow
just,
it up.
Tannerite.
Yeah, we still got to do the coffin boat too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, that's fun to freak people out with at the shop.
Yeah, people come by the shop and freak
best-
out.
Dude, I remember the first time you and Anthony sent me that little clip. He's dragging the coffin across the parking lot, and then you come popping up out of it. He's got the shovel in the coffin.
Yep.
Dude, there's still human guts in that coffin.
It was a repo.
A repo coffin for $600.
Man, I'm cheap. I wasn't gonna buy a new one. You know how expensive those things are, brand new. They're like $2,500. I was like, man, YouTube ain't paying me that kind of money.
If you focus your energy on business as much as you do on these crazy ideas, you'd be a millionaire by now.
Probably. But I like my crazy ideas.
I remember like 4 days of gluing popsicle sticks together.
Yes, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. But I
And
put Mike in his
stupid.
place. Because, you know, Mike likes to get on there and make these very bold statements in his YouTube videos. He's like, I have built the lightest frame ever. And I'm like, yeah, hold my beer. Oh, God.
It's been a while
Forgot
now.
about the popsicle
Yeah.
stick deal.
Yeah, that was a long
I don't
couple
know.
days.
It came up in conversation this morning in front of the hotel when we were reviewing the original video when Dustin called you out about the tutu.
Yep.
That's when the popsicle build popped back up.
Yeah, that is when it came back up. I did those about the same time, too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I wasn't even on TikTok when Dustin made his video.
I don't think I've ever seen the popsicle that you're talking about. I don't think I've
He
ever
literally
seen
glued about 10,000 popsicle sticks together
And I made a front casting deck for a boat.
that weighed like 3 pounds.
Yeah.
And stood on it and everything.
Yep. I went to Anthony's so I could have like a witness to show that I really did it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What'd you do this for?" And I'm like, "Just to prove Mike wrong." And he was like, "Okay, whatever." I think that was when Mike started doing was it the Gen 7 or Gen X or one of his Gen whatevers? I can't remember. But
It all started with you trolling Mike.
Yeah.
You were trolling
That's what it
Mike.
starts out.
And literally, Chris jumps in a comment and he was like, "Oh, I can beat you." Done. Hold my beer.
Man,
Mike's like, "You're full shit." Chris is like, "Wait till tomorrow." And then Chris calls me at like 2 a.m. I'm still fucking gluing popsicle sticks together.
I did too. I glued popsicle sticks together for like 3
he literally
days.
glued them like 10 layers thick and kept offsetting them and hundreds of clamps and just kept making pieces and then had to make like 50 Y supports to span 2 feet so he could step on these damn popsicle sticks.
But I did it.
And time lapse the whole thing.
Yeah, I did. I time lapse the whole thing, and it was significantly lighter. But what was funny is that people that didn't watch the whole video, they were just like, "Oh, lightest casting deck ever," and then they just like fast forward to the popsicle stick. They're like, "Well, what do you think about epoxy coating it in water?" Like, people went wild in the comments. I was like, the whole thing was a joke. I mean, I really did it, but it was just a mess with Mike.
Yeah. There is nothing more powerful than someone telling me no. My God, get out of my way and just watch,
Yeah.
you know? So,
One of the things that I was thinking about earlier while you guys were talking about the riveted boats is, and I can't prove this, but I've heard this a lot. A lot of people say that most of the damage to riveted boats and welded boats happens while you're actually trailering the boat, not when you're actually out there fishing. You guys think that there's some truth to that, or?
Guess it depends on how the boat's set up. You know, that's part of it too.
Like interior weight.
that's a lot of it.
You know, guy that doesn't have his batteries strapped down and they're sitting on the bottom of the boat and it just doing this all
Smacking, going 80 miles an hour down the interstate. Yeah.
If you bought a boat and then you found a jet ski trailer and you try to make it fit and the bunks are 6 inches shorter than the transom and the entire boat is just cupping the hell out of the bottom of the hull, your bunk boards should actually extend past the transom a couple inches. That way it's supported all the way across.
Yeah.
I mean, even the bow eye in the front, how many times have you seen it where the guy cranks his boat up and it's sitting up this high and then at the last few inches it sucks it down?
Yeah.
That's not the right way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
You know, it shouldn't have down pressure on it. It should be steady forward pressure on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
So most of those hooks fail because the trailer's not set up right.
There aren't a whole lot of people building like really good small boat trailers. Which like you said, jet ski trailers, the Harbor Freight trailers. And I've done it. I've had quite a few boats on jet ski trailers that I've had to extend. And
We got some really nice aluminum trailers.
you do. What are you carrying now, Nate?
They're easy tracks.
Okay, you like them?
Yeah, they're pricey, but
Are they? So when you get them, are they set up for a specific style of boat, or do they just have like a couple of bunks on
no,
them?
the bunks are adjustable. The tongue's adjustable forward, backwards, but they're $4,000 trailers with welded fenders, steps, lights, swing tongue, aluminum rims, tires, spares. I mean, they're nice.
Yeah.
But they're $3,900 to $4,100 trailers.
Yeah, they're nice. For what?
But
pictures
steel
I saw.
trailers ain't cheap anymore either. They're they're over $3,000.
That's what I was going to say.
You want to spend an extra $700-800 and have a really badass trailer, or you want one that's going to rust in 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, well, especially up where y'all are.
Yeah,
So I don't know what y'all do with salt in the wintertime. It's like they just pour it everywhere.
they do.
They do.
They literally stockpile it all year just to get through winter.
No.
But we can get a foot of snow. Our roads are clean 24, 36 hours.
Not in Georgia.
But that's also why my property taxes are like $5,200 on a 2,000 square foot home, and yours are probably $12.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also have Waffle House, and you don't,
Correct.
which is lame. That's un-American. I don't know how y'all survive up there. So, Ryan, you got any thoughts on the welded versus aluminum boats?
Now I just want Waffle House.
Yeah, we didn't eat Waffle House on the way up here. It's a long ride to Indiana, by the way.
It's not as long as from Illinois to Georgia.
Yeah, that's true too. But
I'm sure it took you 3 hours to get around Hotlanta.
almost
holiday
4
weekend.
just to
Probably
get
4.
to Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Traffic
Which
What
is,
was the
which
drive
is
here?
double.
total?
Supposed to
8
be
hours.
8, like right at 8, I think.
It'd take me 8 to get to 285 down there.
Yeah.
We left at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That was the first big mistake.
Yeah.
And then it was traffic all the way through Atlanta, all the way through North Georgia, all the way through Chattanooga, and then between is it
Then-
Interstate 24?
Well, then we hit the nasty storm in Nashville.
Yeah. Y'all got some crazy storms up here too. We don't have rain like that in Georgia.
Nashville's a nightmare when it's raining.
Yeah.
People can't drive down there.
So, question for everyone. If you had to pick an aluminum boat, brand spanking new, that you're not building, you're just going to go buy, well, what would you buy? Ryan?
Honestly, probably the Tracker Grizzly.
You like the trackers?
Well, it's an easy thing to get a hold of where we are.
Specific size that you like?
I like Troy's, the 1860.
1860 is good.
It's pretty nice.
Okay. Dustin?
What are the stipulations on this? Because, like, I might buy a Hanko or a Long Beach or there's a handful of guys out there making awesome boats.
Really?
Now it's, you can't go to Cabela's and buy one.
Yeah.
So what are the stipulations? I mean, are we
Whatever
are
you
we
want.
talking?
What would you buy? What would you spend your money on?
I'd build one myself. I'm capable, and I've
Yeah.
built 8 or 9 of them from scratch. So I like building them. So, but there's really no bad boat out there, though. I don't think.
Nate?
I don't know. They all serve a purpose. The Grizzlies aren't bad. Those 1754s are a good in-between boat. When it comes to a 1648, you got Low and Crescent. They're all about the same.
Yeah.
There's 20 brands out there that are all reasonably priced boats.
Yeah.
Only thing that separates Sea Arc from everybody else is their 125 series, 1/8-inch hull,
Yeah.
versus everything else that's 100. So
And half of them ain't even that.
yeah, right.
Some of them are 80 or 90. I don't know. They all serve their purpose. It just depends on what you're going to do with it.
Jamie?
No, I agree to that. I mean, I think it's more of a do your research kind of thing, because it is, what you're buying the boat for more than it is, and it's are you looking for an off-the-shelf brand? Are you going to go buy that Tracker? Are you going to buy the Low? You're going to buy a Crestliner, or are you looking for something that's a little more custom, to where you can spend your money in that direction right off the bat over what we do a lot of times? Obviously, we're building boats. So, are you going to be, looking at a custom Prodigy per se, or, chopping one up right off the bat? Are you looking to buy a boat and put 25, 30 grand in custom interior in it and building it the way you want? So I think that plays more of a factor. The thickness of the hulls, that plays a big factor too. Are we running it up a river? Are we doing, like Nate was talking about earlier, lakes around me are electric only. They're, horsepower restricted down to 25s. So the thinner wall hulls are going to probably get you by and do everything you need them to, and you're going to get a little more speed out of it, to where if you're running the Mississippi, you're running the Ohio River, you're going to want something with a 100 hull or plus, to take more of an abuse and a beating. So I think it's more of a do your homework before you make the investment than it is to just say, hey, I think one is better than the other, because they all serve a purpose, but they may not serve the purpose that you need. If you go buy a lightweight boat, and you're going to go beat the crap out of it, you may destroy it in 2 years and be very disappointed that you didn't do the homework a little better
Yeah.
and bought the one you really should have bought. So I think that's probably where I would lean with it.
Yeah. Now, Jeremy, I know you do aluminum repair, but do you do aluminum welding at your shop?
Yeah, we do some.
So do you actually do the welding, or do you have somebody that does it?
No, we do it in-house.
So that's one of the questions that I wanted to kind of get into with everybody, since we're on this topic of welded versus riveted boats, is talking about the aluminum repairs as far as what you do, what you like to do, what you try to stay away from, and any of your what's your history in welding? Like, did you start with aluminum, or do you?
Yeah, no, I mean, from my end, I'm kind of piggybacking off of you guys on the aluminum side of it. Obviously, we didn't really get introduced into doing aluminum until I wanted my own aluminum, bass boat, more or less, and started putting it together. So I don't have a big background in doing aluminum fab, et cetera. I blame you guys for that. I mean, as much as I hate to say it.
We saw it on YouTube. It looks so easy.
Yeah, it didn't look that bad. So, I bought a spool gun and I started, throwing sparks, and it looked really terrible. But, I mean, obviously I own an auto repair shop, and, from the exhaust, we do a lot of custom exhaust, so I have a lot of background in welding. Just never really had any reasoning on doing any aluminum side of it.
Yeah.
My fiberglass days started with fiberglass kit cars and Cobra bodies and OT buckets, and just slowly graduated into boats. And once I started playing with boats, it just never went away. And
now, did you have any formal training in welding, or you just on the job
rock and
learning?
roll, man.
Because you grew up doing welding with mufflers and
I mean, it was just all hands on as far as that goes. Nobody ever showed me how. It was started with Dad saying, "Hey, I need you to build me 45 Y pipes, and you're gonna weld them all together." And the first 10 looked terrible and threw them away, and then he took them out of my paycheck, and I figured out, well, I better do better on the next few.
Yeah.
And it slowly worked from there.
Yeah. So was there a big learning curve going from stainless and aluminized? I know you work on a lot of aluminized steel too. Was there a big learning curve going from that to aluminum?
Not really. From my end, it wasn't. I think I've done enough of it. I mean, if you ask me to pick up a TIG welder right now and roll you some dimes, I'm not going to be that guy.
You're going to look like a newborn baby giraffe trying to ice skate.
Pretty much. I mean, I would never put any of my welds up against any of those guys, any of you guys, really. Maybe Nate's every once in a while, but,
I can't get I'm straight new to the TIG, that's.
Yeah. Because you just recently got a new TIG, didn't you?
Yeah, we've had a 350P for 2 years now, but then we bought a TIG because all the aesthetic stuff on top of the boat, I wanted it all TIG.
Yeah.
So I bought it, and then I knew somebody that was looking for some part-time work. It's a phenomenal TIG welder, and part of the deal was to train the other guys in the shop.
Yeah.
And I've spent several hours with him, but the hand dip. I'm good until I give you a pretty weld about that long, but when I have to feed back through my fingers, I'm better to start out here and until I run out.
Yeah.
And then I got to stop and I got to start again.
Yep.
But getting the motion through the fingers, no,
it's hard.
It's not good for me. That's when it gets all over. But if I can just hold and dab until I run out of rod, I'm okay. So if you only want to weld about this big, I'll give you a good one. You want one about this big, ain't gonna happen.
Now you're really good with the push pull.
Yeah,
which you're spoiled rotten. You're an ass. But so when you started, you got a spool gun. You had a cheap spool gun, didn't you?
My background was carpentry for 21 years, and when I decided we were going to go build some boats, I needed to know how to weld. I walked into Airgas, they'd sell me the simplest welder to learn on. And they said, "Here you go, give me $2,100. I walked out the door, and I just built a boat for a guy who was the teacher at the local college. Mm-hmm. I called him, I said, "Get your ass over here, I need your help," because it was just boogers everywhere. And,
what welder was that?
Huh?
Do you remember what welder it was?
It was a Lincoln 210 mag, or Legan 210 MIG.
210
Okay.
MP.
Yep, an MP. Yep. And that's what I learned on. And he come over and he helped me for like 4 hours one day and like 4 or 5 hours the next day. And we got it dialed in. And then, for us, it's 1/8 inch 90, very, very little 60.
Mm-hmm.
You got your inside and your outside. So it was just a matter of writing down all the settings. And for the most part, it's not that hard.
So it was you picked it up pretty quick though.
Yeah,
You're
probably
a fast
within
learner.
10, 15 hours of it. By no means was I pro.
No.
But I could stick two pieces of metal together and make them look.
You are a full-fledged
halfway
member of the I Welded It Stuck It Club.
Yes.
Yep.
And then the rest of it just come with time,
Yeah.
As we started making parts and you're sitting at a table for 8 hours a day, it don't take too long before you get, several
pretty good
hundred
at it.
hours under your belt.
Yeah.
And then when you make side pods for Anthony that have 52 different angles on them and they all have to be welded, you gradually start putting it together and learn the little subtleties. And there was some advice along the way from multiple other people because I was proud when I could first lay down a couple little lines, and somebody be like, hey, I get the little message, change this or do that, and I always took that great,
Yeah.
give me all the fucking help I can get.
Hey. So I know you still got your Miller for your push-pull setup. Which machine is that?
350p.
All right. And what are you running for your TIG?
It's a Miller 210 Sinker Wave.
Okay. All right. And Jeremy, what are you running on now? Are you even
Full gun on a little Miller.
okay?
Nothing overly exciting. Started off learning on a Harbor Freight Special.
Hey man, nothing wrong with Harbor Freight. I love me some
Right.
Harbor Freight.
Had to fry something off the bat. If I'm gonna burn some tips up and something, we're gonna learn on that. So that's where it ran off from.
Okay. Dustin,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good.
Still hanging with us?
Yep.
What got you into aluminum welding, and tell us about your welding history.
So it all started for me about 2011, and I was part of a little forum called Bow Fishing Country, and I saw all these guys moving furniture around and building decks and all this stuff, and the only welding shops around here, they get paid for their work, and I'm tight. When it comes down to it, I was like, I can buy a welder and start building my own stuff cheaper than what I can pay that guy to do it.
Yep.
And I bought a Lincoln 140C, and I cut my boat into 6 pieces in a yard. And it took me like 6 months to hobble it all back together. I did not have a clue what I was doing. I found out pretty quickly that the wind sucks.
Yes.
And, if it rains, you better preheat and get that moisture out of there, or you're not going to weld anything either. So trial by fire was how I learned. And I mean, YouTube, I had plenty of people telling me that I couldn't, that I wouldn't, that I was crazy.
I feel like we all kind of had that, start in life as far as that goes.
And I just ran with that. I was like, man, somebody told me I can't, so I have to now.
Yeah.
And
The popsicle stick deck.
yeah, exactly. Right. So now, 12 years later, after having my YouTube education, I've
YouTube certified.
Yeah, YouTube certified
Master welder.
So on that forum, I was showing pictures of what I was doing, but that had already been done before. I'm like, well, I got to start taking video, and that's how I got into YouTube. So I started making YouTube videos of what I was doing, just as for fun, as a hobby, and then I got into editing. All the while, I was still working on my welding, and I had 9 to 5 jobs. It was never supposed to be a business, and then I got sick of working for other people that wasn't appreciative of what I was capable of, and so I just started investing in myself, and I've had the doors open for 3 years now. A little over 3 years. And I'm a creator for weld.com. I still do some YouTube. I do some TikToks, do all that stuff. I'll build a boat from scratch, a trailer from scratch, or I'll modify anything that you can bring me. And somebody comes in here and wants TIG lessons or spool gun lessons or whatever, I do that too. Okay. I've had, a couple local guys, like, oh, I saw your TikTok. I got a spool gun. Can you teach me how to use it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Here's my shop rate. Anytime you want to come over, I'll make time for you. And, and they're more than happy to do that.
So what machines are you running? I know you got the big Everlast. As you're running TIG?
So Everlast 255 EXT with a 375 power cool and a 25-foot CK Worldwide Flex Lock 230 water cooled number 9 torch. Consumables are a lot of personal preference. I like quartz cups from Edge Welding.
I saw your pictures the other day.
Yeah.
Those things look really, really nice. I'm gonna try some.
I'll show you. They're not cheap.
Nothing really, really nice in the TIG welding world is.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother addiction right there.
It is.
People don't understand. And when you get into welding and if you really get into TIG welding, you can spend some mega, mega bucks on TIG welding toys.
Absolutely.
But they do make life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. There's little niches and it's all what you want, right? So if you're all about aluminum, kind of like I am, I call myself 100% aluminum shop. I don't do a lot of steel. I invest in all that because I've always wanted to be that Instagram account that you just open up and you're like, damn, this guy's got dimes for days, right? I wanted to be Dabbs Wellington. I wanted to be Mark Winchester. I wanted to be all those guys that are just like crazy.
Hey, Dustin.
Yeah.
Is that your new shirt? Dimes for days.
Dimes for days.
Dimes for days. I love it.
How much hate would I get for that?
Oh, no, before I move on to Ryan, I will tell anybody that's watching on YouTube or if you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, if you're thinking about getting into aluminum welding specifically, this is not just to beef up Dustin over here, but between you and weld.com, y'all have a lot of really good basic beginner info that's beginner friendly.
Yep.
There's one thing I don't like about the aluminum welding world on YouTube is there's a lot of people that like just jump in head first and they're way over the heads of most of the beginners that just have no clue what it takes to get into aluminum welding. And so a lot of older weld.com videos that go over aluminum welding are very, very basic and easy to understand. So if you're looking for information on getting into aluminum welding, definitely check out your channel. And your channel is still Dustin Apple, right?
Yep. My YouTube's Dustin Apple.
But if you search White River Rambo,
if you search White River Rambo, just Google White River Rambo, you'll get all of my socials and it'll take you everywhere.
Yeah.
Weld.com, obviously you can go to Weld.com's YouTube channel, which is like 900,000 subscribers right now. But Weld also has an app, and it has like 4 different tiers, I think. You can start out with a free trial, and that'll get you to the message board. You can post your pictures and say, hey, I'm having trouble with something. Weld is unlike anything else. There's no hate. There's no trolling. There's no bullshit that goes on there. It's all like we're the 1%, and we want to help other people succeed, and that's what it's all about. So, but the premium members get complete educational content. So, you've probably seen some of my YouTube videos on Weld about new machines and things of that nature. But I've done a lot of content that breaks all the specific steps down. And if you're a premium member of the Weld app, you can go through that at your leisure. But there's a lot there. Yeah, it's just you gotta invest in yourself and start unfolding it because it's deep.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of time behind the hood.
Oh yeah,
people think they're gonna pick it up, especially when you get into TIG. And I'm not super steady with my hands, but I am a decent TIG welder. But it took me a long time to get there. Yeah, especially not having any formal training. It took me a really, really long time.
I said, I can do this. I got this. Hold my beer.
Yep.
And then I was grinding tungsten.
Yep.
Just watched it get shorter and shorter.
It's not if you dip it tungsten, it's what you do after you dip it.
Yeah.
And you're talking about making short little welds and getting nervous. And that's probably a lot of what it is. You're like, all right, I've only got so long, right? And then I'm either going to have to move or I'm going to have a heart attack and just quit, right?
Or let your fingers catch on fire.
Or let your fingers catch on fire.
When you do that quick, oh, my glove, and you're trying to sling it across the shop, but it's stuck to your skin, and you're like, I've done that.
Yep, I do that on occasion. But that, I had to overcome that because that's anxiety of terminating and restarting. A lot of what worked for me was
my biggest thing is whenever I go to try to feed more, I get the bloop. I can feed it, but the nice smooth doesn't stay nice and smooth. It's nice and smooth, and you go, oh, yep, Nate fed. Nice and smooth. Oh, yep, Nate fed. So it's easier for me to just
Or you shove the filler rod into the side of the tungsten, and you're like, crap.
Yep.
I hate it when that happens.
I haven't mastered that part yet.
Yeah.
I can make a nice little 2-inch weld. And when you do a lot of parts, you do a lot of nice little welds. But
I don't do a lot of feeding while I'm welding because we do so many short welds.
Right.
And we specifically, and I know, Dustin, you do this a little bit too, but welding thin material, like 16th and less, you can't weld for very long anyways. So it's almost like you kind of want to only have so much filler in your hand before you need to stop so that you can allow the material to cool, or you can move to another side of the part so you don't wind up with something that's supposed to be flat and then ends up looking like a freaking pretzel by the time you're done because you just put so much heat into it, it can't handle it.
Yeah. Get in, get out, move on.
Yep.
Don't linger.
Ryan, you're a certified welder now?
Nowhere near that. No. I've welded a few frames together, but nothing serious.
Yeah.
Still learning.
So your first time doing aluminum welding was at the shop?
Yes.
With me?
Yep. I've done steel before in like high school auto mechanics classes and stuff, but never done aluminum. So
So at our shop, we run all prime weld equipment. Not for anything other than it's cheap, and we just don't do a ton of welding. If I was welding all day long, like Nate does, like you do, I'd probably have some better equipment. But we weld for an hour or two at a time, and then I may not touch a welder again for another 2 weeks. Just depends on what we got going on. I think the most that we do is welding frames and boats, and that prime weld MIG that we've got works amazing, especially for the price. It's been really good. I mean, hell, it was the first day we got the new prime weld, the MIG 180. I set it up. I did a couple test runs with it, and I just handed it to Ryan, and I was like, here, go weld some
on
crap.
050.
He welded 2 pieces of 050 on edge for like a 1.5 foot and didn't burn through it. I was like, wow. Did really good. I was very impressed. But you haven't done the TIG yet, have you?
No, I'm not coordinated. Matt tried to get me to do it, and I almost burned down the shop. We were doing it on a wood table too. It was not smart, but
do you feel like you could if you practiced enough, or do you just feel like you're just not coordinated enough for it?
I don't feel like I'm coordinated enough, but I also haven't practiced a whole lot, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Right now, I'm comfortable learning with the push-pull and then
Spool gun.
the spool gun, and then
Yeah.
I'll do the rest of it later.
And we came from a titanium Harbor Freight welder, and that thing was a hunk of shit. It was absolute. Now, for what we do, for anything bigger than 1/8 inch, that little titanium that you get for $600-700 is a great little machine. It'll weld up to 3/16, probably 1/4 inch with multi-pass, just fine. For doing thin stuff, it can't hold. Your voltage all over the place, wire feed speeds all over the place. You just can't get it consistent with it. That prime weld, though, for anybody looking to just get into welding, don't make the mistake that we did. If you're going to weld thin stuff, don't buy the Harbor Freight titanium welder. It is a great welder, but only for thicker stuff. The prime weld has been amazing. I can't recommend that stuff enough. And it's a great company. And when we got our TIG, we got the 225X. they were supposed to send. I think it was one of the torch. The torch lead was missing, and it wasn't even a big deal. It was like the I think it was a stick welder.
Oh, Stinger.
Yeah, the Stinger.
Yeah.
And it was missing out of the box. And I called them and I was like, hey, I don't know if I'll ever need this or not because we don't do a ton of steel, but I would like to have it. They sent me a new one. They sent me their brand stubby gas lens set for my TIG, and they sent me a cover for that. I was like, dude, I didn't need all this crap, but thanks. I appreciate it. They've been super, super helpful. Great company. I think next thing I want to try is their plasma.
Yeah.
They got a really, really affordable, like entry level plasma, which we don't need anything massive for what we do. You know, most of the stuff we cut's 1/8 inch or less. Now, what are you running for plasma?
So I've got a 60 amp AHP, and it was something from weld.com where we were doing a promo for them. Now I've had a couple other plasmas, but honestly, I don't use it very much.
Yeah.
90% of the stuff I cut, skill saw. And I just sent my wife after some the other day those Hercules non-ferrous blades, Harbor Freight, the non-ferrous. Okay, that blue coating is a lubricated coating. Okay. And I run the dog snot out of those. They cut smooth. They don't bind up, and the carbide's good on them. And
Yeah.
I mean, I get lots of use out of it.
Now, are you using I know you did a video on it a while. I didn't get to watch it, but it popped up in my feed. The Bauer 20 volt metal cutter. Are you still using that?
Which one?
The Bauer?
The cutter
Yeah.
or the little saw?
Yeah.
I've got it. I don't use it very much.
We just got one.
Yeah.
I love that thing.
The metal cutting saw.
Yeah, the metal cutting saw. It's like a weird size, 5 3/8 or
Yeah.
something stupid like that.
Honestly, I have so many other tools. I've kind of forgot about it. It's sitting over there in the corner, and I think I just set it over there and quit.
What do
You know, it was 2 days in between jobs or something, and it slipped my mind. But
Yeah.
I saw it yesterday, and I was like, hey, I ain't used that in a minute.
I love that little thing. It's
Yeah.
been great. But I mean, we learned from Nate. We use a skill saw for a lot of. Do you have a plasma, Nate? You don't have a plasma cutter at all?
Nope.
Really?
Jeremy, do you got one?
I'm a
Little Hobart.
I'm a surgeon with a skill saw.
But no,
yeah.
you use it a lot more in the auto shop, though, right?
It's in the boat shop, but it's there because I was doing quarter panels and shit like that.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, Mike bought the titanium one from Harbor Freight. He was like, it is way overkill for aluminum, especially for the stuff that we cut. I think he melted like a whole piece of 050 trying to cut something with it, just gouged a giant hole in it.
I don't think I would even try to use a plasma on anything less than 100.
Yeah.
And the only time I get the plasma out is if I've got a lot of 3/8 or 1/2 inch to cut, because that builds up heat on your saw and then it'll gum up and you know, on your skill saw. So with that, I'll get the plasma out and just bust through. But I don't use very much of that stuff. You know, if I'm making a special bracket for somebody or something.
Yeah.
But
Well, anybody have anything they want to add to the riveted versus welding versus whatever the heck else we ran off into 1,000 tangents on this
Sure.
episode about?
Is that what we were still on?
Yeah, we're still talking about boats. Well, I want to thank our sponsor for this episode, just Tiny Boat Nation. You can check them out. They got all kind of boat parts and stuff on their website, TBNation.net. If you check out any of your favorite YouTubers that are affiliates for them, you may or may not find a discount code in their YouTube videos. You can check them out. Jeremy, up there in the good old Illinois with an S and an N. Where are you located at, Jeremy?
So I'm in Newman, Illinois.
All right, and then you are the fiberglass master.
I don't know about master, but I can definitely get it done.
Well, you know more than all of us about
There you
fiberglass, so that makes you a master to us. and
And
Nate's
boat
Custom
carpet.
Boats, and you're in Pekin now.
Pekin.
Pekin, Illinois. You check him out if you need anything. Dustin's down here in good old Indiana.
Yep. White River Rambo Customs, located in Salem, Indiana, about 35 minutes northwest of Louisville, Kentucky.
And we got Ginger's Gone Wild over here just outside of Atlanta, so you know where to find him. Thanks everybody for tuning in, watching. Make sure that you, and it's not, if they're on YouTube, they need to subscribe and heart and whatever else. But if they're on the podcast stuff,
If you're on a podcast platform listening to us, please rate the show a 5-star.
is there a 6-star or is it just 5?
You got to pay extra
I think it's
for
just
that.
5.
Can they comment? Can they comment on a podcast?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But you can follow, subscribe to it, or download the episodes or whatever. But
Yep.
make sure you hit the 5-star.
Any love you can show us, let us know. Comments below. And we are going to be taking some more trips and doing podcasts with a lot of different people, but we're going to be running most of the podcasts out of our shop in Georgia. So if you're watching on YouTube, or if you want to shoot us an email or call us with any podcast topics that you want to hear or see in the future, depending on which platform you're watching on, let us know. We've got Frankie's going to be in with us on the next one. We're going to try to convince Mr. Anthony Jones to come and talk to us one day. He's a busy man. It's like Hollywood John Boat famous. So we got to get with his directors and his corporate sponsors and make
Just
sure.
be
that we
honest.
can-
You got to ask his wife.
Yeah, we got to ask his wife. We'll get him on here
Get 'em
eventually.
on. We'll get them on.
And then we'll see. You guys are going to be back down in Georgia in September.
Middle September
Yeah, so we'll probably have you guys back on soon.
for the Electric Fishing Series Classic
Yes.
boat giveaway.
Yes. And that will be all over the tube of views,
Yeah,
I'm sure. Is Mike coming down for that?
I think so. I mean, somebody's going to win a $25,000, $30,000 boat when it's said and done.
Yeah. And they
From
can,
fishing John Boat tournaments.
yeah.
That is crazy.
And that's on the Electric Fishing Series Facebook group.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And next year, it's already looking to be about twice the size that it is this year. We're going to expand it to 2 divisions and possibly bring on another state and potentially have multiple boat giveaways.
Nice.
Sweet.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
This Electric Fishing Series Facebook group. That's what they
Yes.
got to do to go check that out.
Yep. And if there's any states that are interested or any other groups, get with us
Yeah.
because we want to expand, nationwide.
Yeah. We would like to see this be a nationwide tournament with a national champion,
Yeah.
tiny boat electric.
Eventually,
fishing
somebody
series.
could win a $50,000 John boat as a
Big,
first place
big
prize.
money.
Big
Yes.
money.
Big money.
I got this vision of 10, 12 states being involved, send the top couple teams to a state that's equal grounds for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Not in somebody's backyard.
I feel like we go to
We do go to
it could be
Georgia a
Florida,
lot.
it could be New York that we go.
It's a pretty
But
good
then
state.
go hold an event for those top teams from every state and let the winner walk away with the baddest John boat around.
I think it'd be cool.
Cool.
For
Thank
y'all.
you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all on the next one.
And don't forget your drain plug.
The what?
Don't forget your drain plug. We've all been that guy. Nobody likes that guy.